Yes, what I'd like to do this evening is to talk about and to remind you what I hope you've all been reading about, or last year in particular, the scandal of members' expenses. I think if I was a member of one of the conventional parties, I mean the three parties, I would be embarrassed, acutely embarrassed, by the conduct of many, not all, I want to emphasize that, not all, but many of my colleagues. And one of the people which I would be acutely embarrassed by is, of course, your former Member of Parliament, Tom Levitt, who I personally regard as a charlatan. That man, as you probably know, has a not particularly enviable claim on his expenses, and the Telegraph very prominently gave large coverage to his claim for a wreath. He went to an Armistice Day ceremony in, I believe, Buxton, and claimed the cost of a wreath which he never should have done. Now, that is an indication of the nature of the claims department which members of Parliament currently enjoy, although since the revelations by the Daily Telegraph, the rules have been tightened up and hopefully will be tightened up even more. Now, what I'd like to explain to you is that about Levitt. Levitt, I suspect, has tried several times to become an MP before he actually became an MP, and by all accounts was enjoying the good life. At the age of 55, he is standing down. And I suspect the reason he is standing down is because of the embarrassment which he clearly must have caused the local Labour Party and the electorate, and you now have a new candidate who surprisingly, mildly, and it is only mildly, rebuked him over his claims. Now, just let me read what Levitt in 2000 and 2007, 2008 claimed on his expenses, which I suspect may come as a surprise to you, although of course it may have been in the local press, it certainly ought to have been. He claimed, and I think this is particularly scandalous, although some MPs claim even more, £2,960 for food. Now remember, this is a man who is drawing a salary of £64,000 plus, and yet it is thought proper that he can claim that figure for food. In fact, he could have claimed more. The rule, as it was then, was that members of Parliament could claim up to 4,000. And remember, Parliament doesn't sit for a long time in the summer. There are other recesses as well. Now, I'm sure we'd all like the kind of job where we could claim for food. He claimed for £4,082 on repairs to his home. I'm sure we'd all like jobs where we like, again, have that system where we can make claims. And £3,702 for furniture and fittings in his second home, and £600 on cleaning. Now, what I should explain, and what perhaps I should have explained before I listed this system of additional payment was brought in as a result of the situation which I was conscious of when I was an MP, and which everyone is conscious of. You represent an area many miles away from London. The high peak is 100 plus miles up. So when I was MP, I used to go down on Monday morning, come back on a Friday. You need two homes. Now, members of Parliament are therefore subject to additional expense. And what the then government of the day did, instead of increasing salaries, which I think whereby members could claim, and the rules, as we now know, have been very loose indeed. They could claim up to, as I've indicated to you, £400 per month without showing a receipt for food. I mean, I find that sort of staggering, as I'm sure you do. I mean, there are many people in this country don't even have an income of £400 a month, let alone spend it on food. And on the other matters which I shall refer to. Now, the other scam, and I shall talk about scams which I want to refer to, is of a Member of Parliament that you may very well have seen in the news, Hazel Blaze, who was a minister for Stockport. She flipped, it's called flipping, her house twice in a year. And when you move your property, you can sell your property. And she has made profits. And of course, claiming that the house that you're selling is your main property, you pay no capital gains tax. And I think one of the outrages of this system, which members have profited very considerably from, is that system. They've had a home, which is their principal home, and their second home. Our taxation system in the UK is that you pay no capital gains tax, we sell our home. And you all have had experience of that, doubtless. Many of you own properties and you sell properties, you're not subject to capital gains tax. But if you had a second home, you pay tax. Well now, she, in 1 year, flipped, she bought properties, made it her main property, sold it at a profit, and so she was avoiding paying tax. And Alistair Darling, not in my view esteemed Chancellor, also moved homes and profited from the fact that he paid no capital gains tax on those properties. Now, perhaps the most scandalous example of this system is one that received a lot of publicity at the time, which, particularly in the Daily Express, which led on it. Jackie Smith, who was a cabinet minister, just forgot what office she held, she claimed that her sister's home in London, one room, was her major home, and her home in a West Midlands, I think she represented Redditch, where her husband lived and family lived. That was the second home that she could claim expenses on. And of course the Daily Express made a meal out of the fact that the husband, if you remember, was buying blue phones, which you, the taxpayer, were paying for, because it was the second